Oh my God.
They're dead.
They're all dead.
Hey! Got a survivor, Chief! I got a survivor, Chief!
What? Oh my God.
A man suddenly grabs his throat, starts foaming at the mouth, and collapses in the aisle. Seconds later, everyone inside the cabin is fighting for air. But the plane does not crash. It flies itself all the way to Chicago and makes a perfect landing. When firefighters finally open the door, the cabin is silent. Every passenger and crew member appears to be dead, except for one pregnant woman who stumbles out of the lavatory. She may be the only person alive who knows what happened up there. 1 hour earlier, Dominion Flight 63 was traveling from Toronto to Chicago when its radio and transponder suddenly went dark at the same time. The aircraft was still visible on radar, but the pilot sent no distress call and reported no mechanical failure. The plane simply stayed on course and continued toward Chicago without answering anyone. Air traffic control cleared the route while the FBI and Firehouse 51 rushed to the airport. No one knew whether they were facing a hijacking, a catastrophic systems failure, or something far worse. As the aircraft began its final approach, the landing gear lowered and every automated system worked exactly as designed. It touched down almost perfectly, even though no pilot could be seen moving inside the cockpit. The tower still could not make contact, so the FBI authorized the firefighters to force their way inside. Severide ordered everyone onto air tanks, and crews approached the forward door with a gas detector.
Crews, everything all right?
Yeah, Chief, we're going in. You got that 4-gas meter, right?
Yeah.
Stay on my hip.
Yes, sir.
Okay, come on.
Oh my God.
The moment the door opened, crews froze. There were no screams, no calls for help, and not a single person moved. Some passengers were slumped in their seats while others had collapsed in the aisle, as if the entire cabin had died at once.
Hey, crews, what's the situation in there?
They're dead.
They're all dead. It must not.
I think we got a hazmat situation in here, Chief.
Emergency, all firefighters evacuate the plane right now, immediately.
Go. We gotta get out of here right now. Let's go.
Truck 81.
Crews warned that the plane could be contaminated, and command immediately pulled everyone out and established a 100-foot perimeter. Every firefighter who entered the cabin went through decontamination, yet their meters detected no carbon monoxide, hydrogen sulfide, or common industrial gas. One firefighter was shaking from the cold, and crews could only say that in 20 years on the job, he had never seen anything like it. The hazmat team was still 8 minutes away, but Severide wanted to enter the plane immediately in a level B suit. There were 188 people on board, and if even one was still alive, 8 minutes was too long.
Hazmat 2's 8 minutes out. Squad's level B suit is good enough for primary search. Give me 2 minutes. Just too many unknowns right now. There's 188 people on that plane. If anyone's still alive, they don't have 8 minutes.
Severide went back inside and found most of the victims exactly where they had been sitting. Whatever killed them had spread so quickly that almost no one had time to react.
Severide, progress report. Severide, come in.
Not good, Chief. Whatever got all these people, it must have happened scary fast. It's like no one had any time to react.
The airline then revealed that the cabin had a video recorder, with its hard drive stored in the first overhead bin. Severide recovered the drive, but then a lavatory door opened behind him. A woman stumbled into the aisle, gasping for help.
Got a survivor, Chief. I got a survivor, Chief.
What? Oh my God.
She was alive and pregnant, but her oxygen level had fallen to 84. Fluid was filling her lungs, and she could barely breathe on her own. The paramedics intubated her and treated the exposure like a nerve agent, even though nobody knew whether the antidote would work. Strangely, the mother kept getting worse, while the baby's heartbeat remained strong. As the ambulance raced toward Chicago Med, FBI WMD coordinator Nathan Conway took control of the airport. He blocked the local hazmat team from returning to the aircraft and declared the disaster a likely chemical weapons attack. The recovered cabin footage seemed to support him. It showed the passenger in seat 5D becoming violently ill before the same invisible wave swept through the rest of the plane. The man was Omar Bengoa, a legendary smuggler already being tracked by narcotics investigators. He was believed to be carrying a precursor chemical used to produce high-potency meth, but Conway immediately treated him as the center of a terrorist plot. Agent Haley Upton believed the conclusion came too fast. Drug traffickers do not suddenly become terrorists without a reason, and a real mastermind would not normally choose a courier already being watched by law enforcement.
What are you guys gonna do about it?
I'm gonna follow the only lead I got, which is going to Bengoa's apartment,
I doubt there's gonna be anything there, but right now I gotta take my orders from Conway.
We don't. If there's something we can do, you let us know.
Before Upton could challenge that theory, federal marshals stopped the ambulance outside Chicago Med. They ordered the paramedics to keep the doors closed and refused to let anyone approach because of the risk of secondary contamination. Then, the pregnant survivor began seizing and went into premature labor. Her blood splashed onto Novak's face, turning one critical patient into a possible second exposure.
I need you to stay put, ma'am.
We have a critical patient back there.
We're under strict orders.
1 David 21 through the airport.
I'll check. 1 David 21 en route to Fulton, California.
It's okay. Okay. It's okay. Novak, you've got blood on your face. You gotta decon yourself. Okay.
The hospital was only a few yards away, but even the doctors were afraid to open the emergency entrance to an unknown chemical agent. One physician warned that if they kept waiting, both the mother and her baby would die on the hospital's front door. At the same time, Severide sent the victim's symptoms to toxicology expert Dr. Lennox. Different passengers showed 3 separate patterns of poisoning, and some had rust-colored streaks running down their faces. Lennox realized they might not be dealing with one chemical at all. It could be a new cocktail of toxins that entered tissue rapidly, reacted inside the body, and then broke down before standard toxicology tests could detect it. To test that theory, Upton, Severide, and Lennox went to the county morgue where nearly 200 bodies from the plane were being processed. The morgue was so overwhelmed that it had called in temporary pathologists from 4 neighboring counties. One of those men was already cutting into a victim when Lennox noticed that he had skipped the most basic step of an autopsy.
Dad, excuse me, sir. What are you doing over there?
I'm just checking the abdominal cavity.
Why didn't you start with a Y incision?
Stop what you're doing, please, and let me see your credentials right now.
The man pretended to reach for his identification, then threw flammable liquid onto a surgical lamp. Fire exploded across the room as the morgue's emergency containment system locked every exit and trapped them underground. That attack proved Bengoa was not the mastermind, because someone inside the morgue was now destroying the real evidence. Severide ordered everyone to stay low, hold back the flames with extinguishers, and pry open a ventilation shaft as their only escape route.
Stay down! Keep moving! Go through!
Get her out!
Firehouse 51 finally forced open the containment door, but Upton realized the fake pathologist had escaped during the rescue. She chased him outside and identified herself as FBI, only for the suspect to turn a gun on her. Just as he was about to fire, Jay Halstead appeared from nowhere and ordered him to drop the weapon.
Drop that weapon! Now!
One plane carried 188 people. An unidentified chemical killed almost everyone, and the FBI still had no idea who created it. The real attacker was still somewhere in Chicago.